Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Castalog. As always, this is me, Mostrino, and this is my voice.
Can you delete this shit, man? I bring my army force now, crying laughing emoji. Am not stealing anything, lol, man. And what the fuck? And am not in music industry, lol, peaceful shit. Poop emoji, poop emoji, poop emoji. Nuts, all made by Amuse.io free distribution company, lol.
Where is that
This is
from?
going back. So this is back, I want to say, like, end of 2018. There was this guy called RD Nix who literally just stole Grant's The Edge. And then when he was confronted about it on r/monstercat, he posted exactly that. And then just clowned himself over and over.
No. And you know what he called it? You know what he called the track?
What
He called it Circle in the Edge.
Oh yeah, Circle in the Edge.
Bruh.
Good times.
Anyway.
Okay. And I'm Katz, and I'm eating a burger.
I'm Wacko. Hello. I'm not asleep this time, so I'm here.
2 years ago, I produced a song for a female rapper friend of mine. Track is called Asian and was supposed to be a tribute to anime and Asian culture in general. People love Asian culture and grew up watching anime. Some people think the lyric is a diss to Asian culture and are calling me racist for working on the track. I'm sorry for anyone who got offended by the lyric, but again, I promise it's a tribute, not a diss, and I didn't even write the lyrics. I'm not racist, never been. Peace.
Mic drop from Razahel right there. What a legend.
I'm not racist, never been. Peace.
Jeez. Like, no better way to end that.
Anyways,
Oh my God.
voice of that brought to you by Miko.
Mm-hmm. And what's his name? What was his birth name? It wasn't Coach. It was Benjamin. And you know their children, 26, 22. They're over there listening to all of Benjamin's Halloween jokes, Chuck of the Cheese jokes. They they want it. He going off of loyalty, got them feel. Oh, Benjamin, you so loyalty. Come on now. Every day he got a story. I wasn't buying it. No. So they like yesterday, Tribal was all cahoots. Benjamin, let's give a hug. Keep that hug for me because it wasn't real. And that piece of poetry was brought to you by the Sick Lizard.
What did I just hear?
What?
I don't know.
Okay.
Did you come up with that?
No.
That's all the information you're getting. All right, let's start this out. As always, the Monster Cat releases of the past week, starting, they only released the Rocket League Legacy remixes. So we're just going to run through that tracklist order. First one being Rocket VIP by Tokyo Machine. This one, I thought it was really cool in the intro, and I thought the fake out right before the drop was pretty great. It got me pretty hyped. Then when the first drop came in, I thought it was all right. It wasn't as cool as I was expecting, and I didn't like it as much as the original, but it was still somewhat neat. And then and then for the second drop, it really seemed like Tokyo Machine was trying to imitate Boss Fight there. It was a real yikes there. So even though I probably wasn't planning on coming back to it after the first drop, the second drop that really cemented my feelings against it, and it's my least favorite of the remixes here. And I mean, it's not as bad as like Bad Boy. Like, don't get me wrong, Tokyo Machine has certainly done worse, but that's not to say that this is any good. That second drop, yeah, I'm not a fan of it in the slightest.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this either, really. It's just so kind of janky and cluttered. There's basically like three kinds of things you can do with the VIP, and pretty much like the three artists that do it on this thing all like do different versions of that. This one is just you take the original track, remove the drops, put in a fake out, and put in just whatever the hell you want. So yeah. I don't know. Like the first drop, the bass house drop, I actually really like. It's probably like my favorite bass house from Tokyo Machine. It's nothing like special, but it hits hard. It's a banger. But then the dubstep drop feels extremely out of place and just like it just segues out of just complete nowhere and just throws the track off, and then it just kind of ends on like a Silent Future garage bit.
Yeah, that last bit was cool, but it really felt out of place, and I would have liked it in a different context a whole lot more.
Tokyo Machine bad, what a surprise. I mean, really, this VIP is just bad, all around bad. It's just a mesh of ideas, like a complete mess. And you have the first drop, which is okay at best. We don't talk about the dubstep drop. It's just a mess. I don't know. I've never been a fan of Tokyo Machine. You have the rare gems for Tokyo Machine standards, but you have some gems. This is definitely not one of them. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to completely join the bandwagon on here, but you have this original song that's got some really, it's some really cool stuttery electro, and then you take that and you just kind of turn it into some, I thought it was kind of like inoffensive bass house, electro house kind of thing. But I also agree, second drop, a bit more offensive. Definitely, I agree, trying to imitate boss fight. It's got some of those like chiptune things. The whole song feels like gimmicky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this really doesn't do a whole lot for me. Like, the original was nice, but this one just doesn't hit it on the mark for me. Like, I felt like the awkward like tempo change after the first drop was just really like forced. It really did not need to be there, especially considering the aftermath of said tempo change to the dubstep drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty disappointing overall, and yeah, not it.
Yeah, I like the original a lot. It's just very fun and upbeat, and one of the very few tracks on that comp that actually fits in Rocket League.
Mm-hmm.
But the VIP was a major step down. I was hopeful for it when I listened to it for the first time, and I was like halfway through it because I thought that the bass house was actually good. I thought it was well done, which is something that Tokyo Machine hadn't managed to do in such a long time, really. But he managed to fit every single cliche of VIPs in there, like fake outs and just, calling out the name of the song, like
VIP.
And okay, yeah. There's like a sillier trait of some of EDM, which is they'll try to fit the name of the song in the song somewhere, even though it doesn't fit. It's like completely out of context. And this is one of the weirdest examples of that because, I mean, not only does it say VIP at the beginning, but it'll say Rocket and then VIP during the second drop, which is just like, why say VIP? And we know it's a VIP. That's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
That's so stupid. You don't have to keep reminding me. I know it's a VIP because the original is much better. Anyway, Bro Step is not Tokyo Machine's wheelhouse. I will once again refer to myself by saying, what did I say? It's like he's trying to convince us that he's not actually Xylent by making terrible dubstep instead of good dubstep.
Nice. All right, moving on to the next one on this list, the Feed Me remix of Silhouette. Now I'll just start out saying this is my favorite of the remixes that came out this week. This is like what Money Destiny should have been. It has a whole lot of energy and hype in the intro, like the way that he kind of manipulates the vocals and harmonizes them is way cool. And then, it gets you excited for the drop, and it actually delivers, at least, for me. I think there's a whole lot of energy in there. It's a whole lot of fun, and obviously, you guys should know from my sub-sound recommendation, I have a soft spot for Complextro, so I love it when it's done well. And I think this is a good example of that. And yeah, I think it's definitely a great remix that both keeps like the great vocals of the original.
Oh my god. I am sorry. What the fuck is going on?
Amazing. Wacko's getting arrested.
Yeah.
Goodbye, partner.
I hope it's over now.
All right.
So long.
Just to finish up, I was saying that it keeps the great vocals and kind of atmosphere of the original while layering it with a fun and impactful drop that, really sells the remix for me. So, definitely my favorite remix on here, and I intend to come back to this one.
Yeah, I was really, really worried for that when I found out that this was releasing, considering that Feed Me's output on Monster Cat has been mediocre to say the least. But I still had faith because Feed Me can make a damn good remix, like his remix of Deadmau5's Strobe and stuff like that. And yeah, this definitely holds up, especially that I love the original Silhouette so much. It's probably one of my favorite Rocket League tracks, but it really treats the vocals with such like depth, like yeah, with such depth and harmonization to them. The actual electro drop works really well with sort of the already existing glitchiness that bad computer sound design brings. And yeah, it's just like Feed Me can make a damn good remix, and this is proof of that.
Yeah, now this is proper Feed Me. Like
This is
all
it.
his output. Yeah, this is it, Chief. But previously, in my opinion, every Feed Me track just didn't hit the mark for me. It was very underwhelming, and I personally despise Money Destiny. Like, I hate that track. So, like Kovak, I was a bit worried for this release, but I was very pleasantly surprised to hear that it was very good, and it does hold up to his like standards that he had off label. And yeah, I don't know if this is better than the original, but they're both on a similar level. But yeah, this is super hype. It's very fun. It's definitely a playlist ad, and well, not my favorite of the bunch. We'll get to my favorite eventually. It's still very good and probably my second favorite.
As far as this song goes, I just want to say that I definitely really like the original, and I don't know. Listening to this, I just couldn't really find much enjoyment in it myself. I didn't really think. I thought like a bit of the off drop was changed, but like, I guess it kind of works to like make it stand on its own. But I don't know. I guess I was expecting something maybe a little different when I got to the drop. I guess it just felt a little stagnant, and I didn't particularly vibe with it, I guess. It's a bit of a miss for me. But I can't really say that there's anything particularly bad. Just a little bit of a spoiler. I think that there's a lot of good tracks on here that that I think are like good songs, but that I don't really connect with, and this is definitely one of them. I think that this is a good song, but yeah, again, I just can't really get into it.
I'm really happy we finally got some solid Feed Me on the label now, because I've been looking forward to seeing him actually release something pretty good, and it delivered here. It's pretty nice overall. I really like the piano part, like right after the first drop. I like that little touch that he added there. To be honest, though, like I don't really find as much of an impact from this one as I did like the original Silhouette, but it's still a really nice remix overall, and I'm hopeful that he releases more stuff like this on the label.
Yeah.
As one of the two people that enjoys Feed Me's output on Monster Cat, I still wasn't expecting him to make a remix that would surpass the original in my eyes, but I think he's managed to do that. I think he somehow managed to make a song with better flow than the original. And I love Bad Computer. I love Silhouette, even though I think it's one of his weaker ones. But I'm really impressed with what Feed Me was able to do. He was able to make a very well-paced electro track, and I'm actually very impressed.
Yeah. Moving on to the next one on here, the Atlas remix of From Here by Cloud Nun. Now, spoiler, this, I did not like it as much as the original, but that's not saying a whole lot because From Here is my favorite of all the original tracks we're going to be covering. So I wasn't expecting it to surpass the original anyway. And, you know, Atlas has some great stuff. I mean, Atlas also has a lot of stuff that I don't care for, but also a lot of stuff that I really enjoy. And I think this is pretty solid. I love the progression here. It's really nice. And, you know, I think it does a good job of, you know, keeping kind of like the feel of the original, but putting Atlas's kind of own spin and kind of showing his own character on here. So yeah, I think it's a pretty solid remix, even though I'm not as crazy about it as I know other people are on here. I do enjoy it.
Yeah, without a doubt, this is probably like the one remix that I was excited for the most, because I'd consider Atlas to be like my favorite mousetrap artist behind Dead Mouse, and that like his last album Lavender God was some like really beautiful ambient house and progressive house. So like, and this track absolutely carries that sort of energy to it. It doesn't really have a lot to it, but all of the sort of minimal instrumentation and all like the rising and crashing pads that slowly rise and fall through the track is just such a like calming, stunning piece of prog house. And also, this is like probably the most unique track for Monster Cat standards in a long ass. Like, I don't know, I should correct that. It's not like experimental weird, but it's like very unlike Monster Cat to release something as chilled out and minimal as this.
Yeah, Atlas is confidently my favorite artist on Mousetrap, easily. But I, of course, didn't expect it to top the original because, you know, my thoughts on Cloud Nun. But yeah, this is just really good. After listening to it again on the listening session, because I previously gave it like a 7, meaning like I find it to be great, but it's not enough to be on my playlist. I definitely think it's playlist worthy. The emotion is definitely there. It's very creative, very unique. It does serve Atlas style very well, and it's definitely super clean and super relaxing, which is exactly my taste of music, and I love it.
This is definitely just an incredibly beautiful song. I love the progression of it and how it builds all the way to that last drop. It makes me feel really nice. But however, it does not top the original. I just love like Future Garage too much, and I think that Cloud None did like an amazing job on the original. Just it's too good. Not to say not to knock the remix or anything, because it's still amazing. Just that if I had to choose between both of them, I'd probably most times pick the original.
I'm really happy about this track overall because I love Atlas. I really enjoyed Lavender God, and his stuff on Mousetrap is really great consistently. And contrary to everyone so far, I actually do prefer this one to the original because I feel like this remix takes like the beauty that the original From Here had and like enhances it to a higher level. And it just the progression in here like is really just lovely overall. And it is a bit repetitive, but it's still a very, very nice track to listen to overall. So yeah, I'm really happy for this one.
I didn't really know what to expect going into this one. On the one hand, you have Atlas, an absolute legend of Mousetrap, an artist who I respect immensely. But then on the other hand, you have From Here, which is maybe Cloud Nun's least notable track. I would say his most boring. So I didn't know what I was going to expect. I didn't know which of those sides was going to win out. But holy God, this song is amazing. The remix, unapologetically, I have it way, way higher in my estimation than the original. I absolutely love the progression. It feels very natural, and it doesn't slip for a second. There's nothing about the progression that I would deem imperfect. And beyond that, music nerd moment, but he managed to take the original From Here, which is in F sharp minor, did not change the key of the vocals, but made a remix in a different key in E major. And
nice.
God, I love that he did that. That's like one of my favorite things for remixers to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I'm really appreciative of that. That's just a music nerd moment to add to how beautiful I find the song already. And yes, this remix is without a doubt my favorite on the entire comp.
All right. Moving on to the next one on here, Shiawassee VIP by Dion Timmer. And I know a lot of people have noted this already, but it doesn't change the original too much. But what it does change, I do enjoy. While I don't prefer it as much as, while I don't like it as much as the original, I still enjoy it. One of the parts on here that I actually like more than the original is in kind of like that intro section where it has the hits and the drums, or like the kick is hitting on each of the chord stabs there. I find that to have a whole lot of energy, and I really like that. And the lead and the drop is really cool. So yeah, while I don't enjoy this as much as the original, I still think it's a very solid VIP. And yeah, I still enjoy this one.
Yeah, I'd mentioned that earlier on. Is sort of all three VIPs sort of follow like three different ways that you could expect one. The Tokyo Machine one was just like a clusterfuck of ideas placed on top of the original, and then the Shiawassee VIP is very much just the original Shiawassee, but with just more synths added, or different synths added into the drop. And I think those sort of like airy dissonant sort of leads that appear in the drop are really cool, but other than that, it doesn't really do a whole lot. The original Shiawassee was good, so I'm not complaining, but then again, it's just sort of like, I like what's there, but I could think that he could really have done more with it.
Yeah, although I'm glad he didn't go in like a bro step rhythm route. I have to be thankful for that at least.
I mean, it's Dion. He could have.
Yeah, he really could have.
Yeah, Shiawassee is a track I never really cared for. It was one of my least favorites in the Rocket League compilation. It's not bad. I respect it for what it is, but I'm just not a fan of the track. However, this, contrary to the opinion of most people here probably, I think the subtle changes that Dion Timmer does here are just it just blow the original completely out of the water. Yeah, the drop in the original, shall I say, is kind of lacking, it kind of lacks substance for me, and this just completely adds what it was missing. It feels so nice. It progresses super nicely, and yeah, I just think even if the change is super small, I think it's so effective that it pushes the remix to, or the VIP to a really good spot, and it's actually in my playlist, like most tracks on this compilation, to be honest.
I actually agree with Katz in that I think that the original, I thought it was pretty good. I thought that it had some good vocal chops. I like Hands Up, but the drop felt a little empty. And I think that a good VIP takes a song that's like, that has some like small problem with it and like changes it, like Swarm VIP by Kuro, I think does a good job of like taking the original, making a small change and making it better, and I think that this does that exactly. It adds some small synths in the drop, but there's with no vocal chops, and I really enjoy that. Definitely gets me moving. It's a really fun track. And when they add the vocal chops back in the second drop, it definitely feels like there's been some progression, which I do appreciate. I like, I also definitely appreciate some of the samples that Dion uses in the off drop of this. Like, what is it? Is it like the computer startup or something?
Like the phone dial.
The phone
dial.
There's the phone dial, and then
Beep
there's
boop,
also
beep boop.
yeah. Like that
internet
stuff I think
one.
is really cool and just adds a lot of character to the song.
Yeah, because that was in Internet Boy as well. So it was neat to see a kind of like a callback to that here.
I do prefer the original Shiawassee compared to this VIP, but it's still pretty cool overall for what it is. Despite the fact that I do like the hands up set, like how it's all hands up, because that was my favorite part of the original track. I felt like these drops in particular weren't executed quite as well as the original, but it's still pretty good for what it is, and it's still like really fun and upbeat to listen to when it's on.
I think the original Shiawassee was very cleanly done, like so clean that it sounds shiny. And I appreciated that about it, even if it made it so that it was kind of hard for me to listen to repeatedly. Like it's clean in a way that's like sickly sweet. where I'll listen to it once, enjoy it, but then not come back to it so that I don't tire of it.
Yeah.
So I think there was definite room for improvement, even though I really enjoyed the original. But the VIP did nothing to improve the original, really. It didn't go far enough. Just changing some synths doesn't do it for me. And what's more, it just sounds messier. It sounds a little more cluttered, like things weren't... It's not nearly as polished as the original was. And then another just little nitpick is that the sample of the phone dialing I don't like, because, you know, phone dialing sounds has a tone to it. It has a discernible tone. But then you're trying to play that over actual pads or synths that you've got in there. It's not gonna sound good. That's a nitpick, but overall, I think it was case 2 of 2 over the entire compilation of remixes that were not as good as the original.
All right. Moving on to the next one on here, the Fox Stevenson remix of Outbreak by Faint. This is Fox Stevenson's first appearance on the label since Lighthouse came out, and we were all waiting for more Fox, and it never happened, but now he's back again. But if I'm being honest, this remix, it kind of makes me sad here, because it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it just feels kind of underwhelming. Like, you can there's some of that Fox sound in there, and you know, I'm a huge fan of his drum and bass, but it was kind of missing that charm that I really like in a lot of his music, that, you know, it feels kind of like witty, and I find that to be very enjoyable, and that's not really here. So all we're left with is his production, which, don't get me wrong, it's pretty solid, but I just think it wasn't quite enough to make me enjoy the remix, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not really into this one. I think the sort of squelchy, very Fox Stevenson-y lead in the second drop I think is really nice, but other than that, it feels a lot like something like Galaxies by Protostar, where it's like most of the elements of the artist are there, but just something's missing. Like, it's very much like, I don't know, it's just very underwhelming and very sort of overall, sorry. I think it's just sort of forgettable.
Sorry, you just mentioned Protostar and my mind had a seizure.
Yeah, like many, I was underwhelmed by this. I still think it's kind of a bop, especially in the second drop, because it's Fox Stevenson. But yeah, like Martin said, I miss the charm that Fox has in like every single one of his tracks. I think it just feels kind of lackluster for the bar he set on his own projects. And even if the production is kind of nice, I think we would have done it could have been just using his vocals or something, but just to add a little bit of substance or his personality in the track. And it feels a bit like empty, hollow, basically. It's nice, but that's it.
I think that the original is pretty disgusting. It's a really, like, you know, sugary sweet song, like super upbeat with, you know, Faint's amazing mixing. This is probably one of my least favorite songs on out of all the Monster Cat X Rocket League compilations. And what Fox Stevenson did is he took this song and made it listenable. So I at least appreciate that. As far as like how the song goes standalone though, I think that I do like the edits to the off drop, and specifically Milk's vocals, specifically leading into the drop. I think that that's pretty cool. But the drops definitely feel really standard to me, as a lot of people are saying it's missing that like Fox magic. So I guess this song really comes down to like if you just enjoy the dance floor, drum and bass, and I think it's alright, but not enough for me to come back to it often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got really excited to see that he was doing a DMB on Monster Cat because Lighthouse was clearly not, and it just was not really that much of a hit for me. But I felt underwhelmed by this track as well because it just didn't have like all the little bits and parts that make Fox Stevenson's music like enjoyable for me. I mean, it was still nice, like in like a vacuum setting, but compared to his other like tracks and stuff, it was kind of just like lackluster.
And unlike all of you, I don't listen to Fox Stevenson, and I don't have any sort of emotional connection to him.
Dang.
So to me, this remix sounds great. I mean, he took Outbreak and fixed it, like Miko said. Outbreak, one of a string of many bad Faint releases in the modern age. And I was excited that it was going to get a makeover. I didn't know exactly what to expect or if I was going to like it because like I said, I don't have a connection to Fox Stevenson. I think he's okay, and I don't really get his charm. But in this remix, it's just very good dance floor. I especially like the change in the second drop. I think it's very well executed, and it's a definite hit for me because it got me to like a version of Outbreak.
All right. Moving on to the next one, the Fool and Tokyo Rose remix of Horsepower by Muzz. This one, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I thought it was all right. It's not something that I'd come back to, but it's not something that I was like really underwhelmed by, like Hysteria. I know I mentioned that previously on the podcast. This one I just thought it was all right, you know. I really don't have anything else to say about that. It's a remix, and it exists, and that's basically about it for me.
Yeah, I had absolutely no expectations from this, and I still think it's just meh.
Yeah.
Really, it's just I don't know. It's basic ass mid tempo like the rest of Fool's 2020 output. Some of the noises in the first and second drops are cool, and that's mainly because Tokyo Rose is on the track as well. Other than that, the second drop reminds me of Death Pack's remix of Odessa's Loyal, which is a far better mid tempo track. And yeah, it's just what the hell happened to Fool?
Sad.
I guess it's my time to defend the track. I had zero expectations, and I actually didn't care for this at the beginning. But today, when I was doing my workout routine, this came on, and it was like, wait, it's a banger. And I listened to it again in the listening session, and yeah, I actually kind of like it now. It's becoming a big guilty pleasure. Like, it's I usually don't like Fool's mid-tempo just because it's full mid-tempo. It's very boring. And I think his only standout track this year has been Dystopia with the Forgotten, who hard carries it. But here, I'm assuming Tokyo Rose has something to do with why this track is so interesting and feels much more like heavier and more impactful than Fool's other releases this year. And I think the track does some cool things here and there that help keep me interested and think, yeah, this is a banger. So yeah, I don't know. Initially it wasn't a hit. Now I'm becoming more of a fan of this track, and yeah, even though I think I'm not gonna come around on full mid tempo anytime soon, I think this is probably his second good track this year.
Nice.
Alright, so I think back in 2018 when Muzz released like this and Cascade EP, you could say that that's arguably like, you know, Muzz's worst era for making music, and if you had just released the Cascade, I would probably agree. But I actually surprisingly enjoy the original, and I think the reason for that is I think that it's got a really good pacing to it. Everything in the song kind of feels like it fits in the perfect spot, and I think that a thing of that, like one of the reasons for that, is the fast tempo. So you kind of take this song, at least for me, and turn it into a mid-tempo song, and have it made by Fool, which I don't really, I don't really find much interest in his other tracks. You kind of get an expected reaction. I think that this track is okay. It's got some cool stuff going on in it. Like I can kind of be like, ooh, yeah, that's kind of cool. But it doesn't really like wow me like the original does.
On the contrary, I'm a pretty big sucker for mid-tempo. I tend to almost always like it, pretty much no matter what. So I really, really enjoyed this remix because the original didn't really do anything for me. There's a lot of really cool things going on. I felt like some parts in the drop could have been like a bit like they could have had more to them, but I really enjoyed it overall just because I like mid-tempo. It's my thing, kind of. Yeah, I haven't really heard anything from Tokyo Rose before this, and Fool as well. I mean, all his tracks, they do kind of sound the same, and I still like them. But yeah, I'll try and check out some of Tokyo Rose's stuff from this too.
In my ranking of all of these remixes and the originals, I had the original Horsepower dead last. And it's not to say that I hate it, but it is the least interesting product of Muzz's least interesting era. I don't find any enjoyment in it. But the remix came along, and I had hope for it, because once again, I am a Fool defender. I think his modern era has been overhated to a degree. And I was interested to see what Tokyo Rose would add to the track. And while I don't think it's anything special, I really enjoyed the remix still. I think it's very hype, and it doesn't deviate so much that it's just completely insane. Like, wow, it's so radically different. But I would argue that it doesn't need to be. It just needs to do its job, which is to be a mid-tempo remix of a drum and bass track. And it spiced it up a lot more. It made it a lot more interesting. I especially like the sounds at the beginning of the second drop. Overall, very hype remix. It may be kind of low in my ranking of these remixes, but I think that's just a testament to how strong this remix package actually was.
All right. Moving on to the next one. What Are You Waiting For VIP by Stonebank. Now, I know some people in here are a huge fan of this. I'm not a huge, I'm not wild about it, but I do enjoy it. I don't think I like it as much as the original, but it's cool. I like this trance direction. I loved Lift You Up. I'm a huge fan of that one. And then this one I thought was pretty neat as well. It was cool to see him deviating from a lot of the stuff he's been doing recently. You know, he had the whole electro thing with Life and Death, hardcore, and then he had Time and SOS, which were borderline hard style. So to see him go back to a style that he hasn't touched in a while, bars, was pretty neat. But I wasn't too crazy about it, but I do enjoy it.
Yeah, and for this one, I think Stonebank did really my favorite kind of VIP, which is where you just take the melody and some of the samples from the original song and just rework it from the ground up as its sort of original thing. And yeah, it's just, I have a really big soft spot for Stonebank. Trance Lift You Up is one of my favorite songs on the label. And yeah, this is without a doubt my favorite on the compilation after repeat listens. And it just comes down to that Stonebank is just so amazingly good at making a really euphoric trance lead and melody. and it's just like such an uplifting and powerful sort of banger of a tune. Yeah, it's really good, and I really hope that Stonebank does more trance in the future.
Yeah, I didn't really care for the original. I think it's just Stonebank Electro. Whoa, so interesting. But this VIP is just fucking brilliant. Like, I didn't love it first listen. I thought it was great. And I don't know what was wrong with me when I was listening to it for the first time. Just how can you not love Stonebank Trance? Like, it's so good. It's so euphoric, energetic. It flows so well. It feels insanely powerful, and the melody is so cleanly implemented into the track. Like and the vocal sample actually fits, which is kind of amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't expect this to be my favorite remix of the package, but I guess it is what it is.
So I definitely will agree that I think that this is probably the best type of VIP. I think that a really good example of this is with Dion Timmer's Panic, when you take you know, like Kovac said, like the melody, and instead of like having, you know, the drop melody, you have like another melody in the song that you use as the melody in the new drop. I think that that's pretty cool. So I definitely appreciated that, but this kind of came down to that I don't particularly enjoy trance music. I did, I think an exception for that would definitely be Lift You Up. I don't know why, but the cluster of sounds in there definitely, I think it just works for me. Like the melody in there is really nice, just a really emotional, fun listen. This though, I get like the opposite. It feels almost like kind of cluttered for me. Otherwise, I think it's an okay song, but honestly, I think I just prefer the original in this instance.
For me, this is definitely my favorite track. And I think in the entirety of the Rocket League albums, I adore this song. The original was a really, really cool like electro banger, but this is just so euphoric, such a mood uplifter. I can't even like really describe it. It's just I love how he took the bass melody from the original and like changed it into like this progressive tune that's like very euphoric and stuff like that. It's just I really really like this track, and I'm really hopeful that he does do more trance stuff because I also really enjoyed Lift You Up as well, and I was really like sad to see he didn't really like make anything else in the trance style. But seeing this, I mean, obviously he did again, so I'm hoping that he does kind of continue on with this like train if he ever like does this stuff again.
Yeah. So I actually enjoyed the original when it came out, you know, back when the idea of Stonebank Electro was more of a novelty.
Yeah.
But since then, he's made a lot more electro, a lot better electro. So it's kind of dropped off in my estimation. But trance is not something that Stonebank has done a lot of. And I love trance. I'm the trance man. I'm the trance man. Oh, and despite that, I actually didn't like Lift You Up. I think it suffers from not having a clear musical direction. Like it just didn't connect with me on any sort of level. But this VIP connected with me instantly. God damn, I love this track so much. It's a very close second for my favorite track on this remix comp. I absolutely love the things that he does, and despite the fact that for trance it's short, you know, under 5 minutes, I think that he still managed to make it progress very, very naturally. Like have a 2-drop trance track that progresses very naturally under 5 minutes. That's not something that you see a lot of. And Stonebank managed to do that, and he managed to make it sound very ethereal. He managed to fit sounds in there in a way that made it sound big, but not cluttered. Like, it sounds very big, like it's a huge track. And big ups to the man. He made some fantastic trance. Definitely one of my all-time favorites from Stonebank.
All right. And then for the last Monster Cat release of the past week, the Bad Computer remix of Walking on the Moon by Infected Mushroom. Now, of all of the remixes, this one was the one that I was the most excited for, because Walking on the Moon is actually, I know this isn't a very common pick, but it is my favorite Infected Mushroom track on the label, and of course, Bad Computer, enough said there. So I was really excited for this, and while it wasn't as crazy as I was expecting, it's still probably my second favorite on here behind the Feed Me remix. Those are the two that I think I'm going to be coming back to the most. I think the intro is really cool, and I guess the one thing that I was kind of hoping for that didn't happen, I was kind of wishing he'd have more of his bass sounds and sound designs in the drop, because it was mostly melodic. And I mean, of course, that was cool. I still enjoy it, but I do think it would have been really cool if he threw in some of his signature basses in there. But otherwise, yeah, I think this is a really cool remix, and I really enjoy what he did to the original.
For this remix, I think, like, considering it takes the original Walking on the Moon and puts it in a lot more of a brighter and upbeat context, as well as Bad Computer's amazing as usual production chops and sound design, this is a really cool track. But my sort of main gripe with it is that, being that it is the second shortest on the comp, only losing out to the Shiawassee VIP by a few seconds, and with that, it doesn't really have, like, it very much sticks to the melody itself for most of the runtime, and for that, especially considering both Infected Mushroom and Bad Computer are known for going in, like, very off the wall directions and really taking, like, a long run time to do a lot of unique things. It felt like something was really missing that could have been. But other than that, I think it's a really well produced track. I'll probably listen to it a lot more. It's just, it's Bad Computer. I think this is also, like, Bad Computer's first remix yet, which is surprising.
Yeah, Bad Computer is the only, I forgot to mention this, but he is the only artist on here to both have a remix and be remixed, which is kind of interesting.
Ooh. Well, yeah, it's a Bad Computer track. Of course it is. It's gonna be good, but I think I still prefer the original over this. And I actually think Bad Computer played it fairly safe. I think, since, I don't know if this is just me, but I think his production style is fairly similar to what Infected Mushroom does in Walking on the Moon. And I think that for some reason that just doesn't work. It's not bad, but it could have been much better if, say, Bad Computer didn't not take a risk. Like, if we had an entire track of to use midsection type remix, well, yeah, that would have been actually fucking nuts. But considering he went and played it very safe, it's a good remix with good production, but it's not that different from the original, and I think it loses some of that, like, psychedelic vibes the original had, like wild, crazy, edgy, not necessarily edgy, but kind of like weird vibes the original had, and that kind of made the original for me, and thus why I prefer the Walking on the Moon OG.
I definitely say that this is probably the one that I was looking forward to the most out of all the remixes. Obviously, Bad Computer, not much of an introduction needed. But I think I'm actually going to agree with Katz on this one, that I think Bad Computer really played it safe, and I feel like he did it in his last release too, Truth. I think my favorite Bad Computer tracks, like To You, they either go in two directions, like To You and Disarray. They're really good because they have some, like, really gritty electro production. Or you have stuff like New Dawn and the second drop of For Me, which is just some amazing progressive stuff. This doesn't really fall into either one of them, so you're basically just left with a shorter version, and you have bad computer sound design. Like it's fine, but it doesn't change itself up enough. Like think I'm definitely gonna listen to the original over this remix.
For me, I'm honestly not too sure which one I like more. I do respect that he made like the really like wonky like aspect of the original song to be more upbeat and like funky-ish, but I'm not sure which of the two styles I prefer. But neither, it is still a good track on its own because it's Bad Computer, and I do like how when the vocals were like the dominant feature, how he had very minimal backing for them too, because that's probably those are like probably my favorite parts of the original. I literally just like how they sound. So I do enjoy how he like had let them have their like little spotlight there, and I did like the trumpets as well. They were cool. But yeah, pretty good overall.
Yeah. I don't really like Walking on the Moon. Despite that, it's my favorite track on Volume 4, which is just a testament to how much that compilation sucks. But I wasn't I wasn't expecting a whole lot. That's kind of a contrary belief here. You know, you see, a Bad Computer remix, and you're getting your hopes up. I don't like to do that. I'm just going to expect that it's good, but I'm not going to hope that it's great. Because I know what I'm getting with Bad Computer. I'm getting some really good production, and just overall good songwriting. And I think, even though he played it safe here and did something that I wasn't expecting him to do, it still works. He made the original a lot more funky, and I really appreciate this style. It may not be everyone's favorite because it's not crazy. It's not out there. It's not in your face like a lot of his most well-remembered tracks are. But by my estimation, I would say it's my third favorite Bad Computer track of this year, behind Clarity and Riddle. I think he did a really good job with it, and I'm certainly coming back to it, definitely over the original.
All right. Moving on to the other label we wanted to cover, specifically the Bitbird Bitbird releases of the past week. Only two in here. The first one is the Blank Forms Blank 4.ms Memory EP. We discussed 92 Senses previously on the podcast. I don't know how many of you guys were here for that, but now the whole EP is out. Most of my thoughts on the tracks, particularly my thoughts on Sarah and Wyoming.
Why is that such a fun word?
Wyoming.
Are really the same as
Why?
Oming.
Wyoming.
Castalog, except it's just a saying Wyoming for 1 hour. But anyways, my thoughts on all of the tracks except for Memory here are very similar to my thoughts on 92 Senses, which haven't changed since the podcast. It's music. It's nice, like it's enjoyable and it's relaxing as background music, but aside from that, it really doesn't do a whole lot for me, and I don't intend on coming back to any of those three. However, the title track, Memory, blew me away, and I can really see, Kovak, where you're coming from with your comparison of Blank Forms to The Caretaker, because that distortion near the end and the whole like idea of it being a memory, very, very similar to the concept behind Everywhere at the End of Time, which, I mean, I still haven't heard it because it's 6 hours and I need to find a good time to listen to it in full. But right even now, the concept is incredible. And hearing Memory do something kind of similar where the music kind of distorts, it was very powerful, to say the least. So there was most certainly the standout on the EP, and it's one of my favorite tracks of the year. I really like what Blank Forms did there. But aside from that, nothing really too noteworthy in my opinion.
I like normally blank forms in like a songwriting and melodic aspect. He's very sort of basic. Usually it's like one pad with a few drums and like melodies, like some plinky or sort of light synth melodies on top. But what makes him like really interesting to me is just his attention to detail when it comes to a lot of like the distortion, a lot of the tape wear that's present. Like there's so much of it, yet it doesn't sound abrasive. It has this very sort of warm and nostalgic feeling to it. And yeah, like overall, I don't really have much to say about it other than like, as you mentioned, really the really heavy distortion at the end of Memory is really cool. I think the main melody in Sarah is really sort of pleasant and just kind of heartwarming, I suppose. But other than that, like, it's a good EP. There's not really much to say about it, but I like it.
I kind of joked around with this EP on listening session. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm a huge fan of chill out music, as most of you may know. I'm a big fan of ambient, chill out, basically everything related to chill out. And this just struck me as not amazing. It's definitely okay. I probably wouldn't seek it out, but if it came on, I'm not complaining. It's just a nice listen all around. I'd have to agree with you, Mostrino, though, that Memory is very, very good. I love how I love the concept of the track, even if the distortion can get a bit grating. And I'm not a huge fan of the sound. Like, I still don't love the track, but I think it is a very good track in paper and in concept. However, if I think I would be lying if I thought if I said the execution was perfect. But yeah, I don't really care about this EP that much. I definitely think it could have been better if it had something memorable to it, aside from the distortion and Memory. But yeah, it's definitely literally music.
Yeah, this is definitely an EP of songs that are music.
So, Blank Form's EP last year, Side A Feelings, I would say is probably one of my favorite EPs on Bitbird. I don't think I've ever heard anyone do what Blank Forms does. Like, there's a lot of these just distorted and random melodies that are thrown in to create these songs, and it's just incredibly beautiful. I'm not sure that Memory at this point completely lives up to Side A Feelings, but I think that with a couple more listens, it could probably get up there. Obviously, my favorite track on here is Memory. I love the concept of it and that entire thing of like having this, beautiful piano melody with those distortions, and at the end it getting incredibly just distorted, loud, gritty. It's just amazing. The entire EP is just an amazing listen all the way through. Incredibly beautiful. I really do love this EP.
For me, I haven't heard anything from Blank Forms before this, so I didn't really know what to expect. And what I've gathered is that this EP is kind of just like ambience and chill beats to listen to the EP. It was pretty nice overall. I really enjoyed 92 Senses and Sarah in particular. For me, they kind of like both reminded me like they could fit in like some other place. So like for Sarah, I felt like it could fit in like a really nice like chill video game setting almost. Like how ambient it was. It could be like a nice outro or something like that. And then for 92 Senses, parts of it felt like it could fit in like a J Kutch song, like in some like off drop, which I don't know if anyone else made that connection, but that's how I felt at least. But yeah, this EP was a nice listen. It wasn't too spectacular, but it was still pretty nice overall.
Give me 1 second before I give my thoughts on this.
Time to play one up.
Oh yeah, let's go.
So My general thoughts on blank forms have remained the same since we covered 92 senses. It's just, just nice pads,
Mm-hmm.
nice pads. It's just like 4 minutes of a pad, and with some plinkety plunkety sounds somewhere thrown in there. But I think by far the standout track is Sarah. I think Sarah is the one that I could most see you just listening to as music. Like as an actual song, not just to have in the background. And I think it's well made. I think the entire thing's well made for what it is. But the other three, even Wyoming, even though I live in a state that borders Wyoming, I've never been there. Don't plan on going. And it's probably about as boring as the song Wyoming. Anyway, I think Sarah is good, and the other three tracks are music to get massaged to.
There's 10 reasons why you shouldn't visit Wyoming or even move there.
Number one's kind of a bummer. Sorry.
Sorry.
Why?
Why? Next track on here, also from Bitbird, same week, Sparks featuring Casey Cook by Rootkit. Now, the parts in here that were in huge air quotes, a drop, because it's not really a drop, but it kind of is. You know the part that I'm talking about. I think that part really fell flat to me. But aside from that, I thought it was solid. I think the vocals were great, and I think a lot of the background percussion really fits well in there. But yeah, just the parts that seemed that they should have been the most exciting or very chill, it kind of just felt like in an unhappy spot in the middle, because it wasn't necessarily chill enough to be relaxing, but it also didn't have any impact either, so it was kind of unfortunate. But aside from that, it was pretty nice, but I don't think I'm going to be coming back to this one anytime soon.
Yeah, typically what I love about Rootkit is either the very glitchy melodies or percussion that he has, or usually very gritty and grainy bass work. And this track really, for the most part, doesn't have a whole lot of that. So without that, and I guess Casey Cook being okay, this is just overall a really forgettable and boring track that I'll probably just completely ignore once the album drops.
I'm a huge fan of Rootkit. However, I think this was just kind of underwhelming. I think, as you guys said, it's a bit awkward in the sense that it doesn't really know what it's doing. It wants to be chill, but it also wants to be heavy, kind of, at the same time. It feels really iffy in that sense, and I'm not really a fan. And it's kind of a fall from grace after he made Too Close, which is still one of my favorite tracks of the year. And while I'm still looking forward to that album, I think this kind of ruined my hype for it. Because, Rootkit is very good, but this just kind of signals something not that good.
Yeah.
Rootkit's tenure on Bitbird has, in my opinion, been a huge step down from basically all of everything that I've ever heard from him. As far as this track goes, I waited 3 minutes and 21 seconds for this track to get interesting, and it never really did. The vocals are fine for what they are. The drops are fine. I don't know. I just don't really have much to say about this other than it didn't interest me in the slightest.
Yeah, this track I was expecting a little bit more from, but it didn't really quite deliver all the way. It was an okay listen overall, but I was just expecting a bit more. I did like how, even though it was generally pretty minimal, especially in the air quote drop, there were little bits and pieces that kind of made it a bit more pleasant to listen to. And the vocals themselves weren't bad, so that's a positive, I suppose. But yeah, I was expecting more from this track.
I really like Rootkit. I was expecting something more melodic. And and what I got was kind of a disappointment, but I still enjoy it. I think making it a little bit more laid back kind of complemented the vocals a little bit better. I think it could have been better executed, but it's still an enjoyable listen.
All right. Then moving on to some of the other releases of the past week that we wanted to cover. First one, my personal recommendation, Call Me Any Name by, I want to say it's Ban Cali. I'm really not sure on that artist name there, featuring vocals from Alexandra Mortensen. And now, the most surprising thing about this track is that it was a track from Spinnin' main label, no less, that I actually enjoyed. Usually, I mean, I skim through the Spinnin' releases when they upload, and big surprise, a whole lot of them aren't very great. But this one I really liked. I thought the vocals were solid, and the drops, I mean, it would be really awkward if no one else here cared for this song, but for me, they had a whole lot of punch, a whole lot of energy. I loved the groove and kind of the energy that the drums brought to there, and I love the inclusion of the vocals into the drops there. So yeah, this one was a really solid one for me, and I recommended it here because, you know, spinning good music, kind of unheard of, so I thought it would be nice to share this one around and see your guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that I just don't like Future House in general. Just, I don't know, it's just a lot of the trends in it really have worn dry to me, and that nothing, including this, really sticks out all that much. I think specifically this track has way too much of a low end, in my opinion, and it just makes the track feel really muddy as a result. And then other than that, I like some of the sound textures, but yeah, I don't know. It's just more, this is like the one per by episode that I talk, or Future House track that I just have no opinions on.
Yeah, like some of you may know, I have a massive bias toward house. I had a huge house phase like a year ago. I still love house. I just can't get over it. But yeah, this is just a solid listen. I think seeing good house on spinning is rare now.
I cannot believe it.
And yeah, house in general, good genre. This good. However, I think the mixing could have been a bit better. It's kind of muddy, but it's still house, so it's still really fucking fun. Like you can't take away that like bounciness and fun Future House always has. Like, yeah, sure. If it's not really your thing, then bruh. But it is my thing. So Pog, I guess.
Nice.
I would say that I'm the exact opposite. I definitely have a bias against house music, and Future House definitely falls into that. This isn't too bad though. I definitely think that the drop has a lot of punch, and I really like the pacing of it, like the repetition of that like vocal chop in there really allows you to get into the groove of like those drums. And I think that Alexandra also put in a good vocal performance, so I think all around it's pretty good. And for spinning standards, I mean,
Yeah.
like god tier.
Once in a blue moon type beat.
Yeah, basically.
I don't have a whole lot to say about this, but I did like it. I thought the drop was really, really cool sounding. I really liked the vocal chops in it, and the vocals themselves were nice too. I don't really have a whole lot to say, yeah, but it was good.
Cool.
I'm the Future House guy. I like Future House. Several of my favorite songs of all time are Future House, but I don't really feel this. I don't know what it is about it. I think part of it has to do with the mixing, just being muddled, and part of it is I don't like the textures in the drop. It's the same exact problem that I have with a lot of Grant tracks with the texturing in the drop, which is it sounds very shallow and watery, which is a sound that drives me insane It sounds like I'm like washing my ear in the shower. It's a sound that I despise, and it made me unable to enjoy this track, even if there was anything else there. Which I don't think there was a whole lot there to begin with. It's an okay track otherwise, but I didn't really find a lot of enjoyment in it.
All right. Moving on to the next one on here, Evian Christ Ultra. Kovak's special suggestion here. Yes. I thought it was really cool. I loved a lot of the sounds here. It was pretty neat. I know you mentioned it was Deconstructed Club, and the only other artist I know of that makes that kind of stuff is Little Snake, and some of the songs I've heard from them are like insane. And I don't think that this is like insane tier, but I do think it's really cool. I like a lot of like the sounds that are going on here. And yeah, overall, I do enjoy it, though, even if it doesn't go as wild as some of the other tracks in that scene that I've heard.
Yeah, I talked about this at the trail end of last podcast, but I absolutely love the crap out of this track. I think, really, it's just such a unique and interesting throwback to 90s trance that has, like, at the start where it brings up this very sort of nostalgic melody that's very similar to like Children by Robert Miles in some ways, and then slowly just brings in these very warped and distorted synth stabs that just cover the entire track and just bring it to another level of like insanity. And I think the best way to describe this track is very much through this, I guess you could call it a music video for it, where it's basically just a video of this massive wave crashing into itself. It played in slow motion for the entire 4-minute duration. And it's very much like the track is just such like this chaotic emotion of a song, but slowed down to the point where you can see all of the agents behind it just sort of like seeing why it's so messy and insane and just so uniquely creative. And yeah, it's just one of my favorite songs of the year. Thank God Evian Christ came back after like a 6-year hiatus. And yeah, really good.
Time to be the mood killer here. Experimental music to me is weird, because it could either be really good, okay, or really bad. Like, there's no other thing that could happen.
Mm-hmm. As is the case with all music.
True.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. This, I'm just not a fan. I think it doesn't really, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here, but it doesn't really converge to anything. You have this mess that, yeah, sure, it might have some sentimental value. I think it could be cool. Well, it is kind of cool. It doesn't do anything for me. Like, it's there, but it just doesn't take me anywhere. It's for a moment there. It kind of, I thought it was gonna take me somewhere, like it was gonna progress into something, because what I was listening to felt like unimpactful and not really what I would expect from a track. But yeah, I don't know, just not huge on this one, even though I do see the appeal. Just me personally, I'm not a fan.
I think that this track has some high points to it, but other than that, I definitely would probably agree with Katz. I think that this track has some parts where it like feels like it's going to progress into something that I'm going to find meaningful, but it doesn't really ever do that for me, unfortunately. Again, I think that this track is really cool. I respect the hell out of it for being super experimental, but maybe I'll get into it at some point, because I've been giving this a bit of listening throughout the week. I could probably see myself coming back to this at some point, but at the moment, I just find it to be a track that's pretty good. It's got some high points. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, this song was just like a giant ambient wall of music. It kept like I kept expecting something to like be delivered, because like it felt like it was leading up to something, but in the end, it just never did anything like that for me. So I think some parts are kind of cool. Like there's a lot of noises that I wasn't expecting to hear. I think about towards like the midway point, but it was kind of just like a bit underwhelming for me.
Cool build up.
Damn.
Nice.
Ow.
Nice.
Well, my thoughts exactly, but I didn't put it that way.
All right, moving on to the next track on here, Morpho. I want to say it's by Foramic. I'm not certain on the artist name for that. And then Snouse. That's the guy who made Time. It's not an artist that you've never heard of. I know maybe the pronunciation seems alien to you. Don't worry, I'm in that boat as well. But it's Snouse. Now, the first drop, it's very weird and it's kind of off-putting. And honestly, I was expecting to really not care for it at all, but it kind of was a guilty pleasure for me, if I'm being honest. It kind of banged just a little bit of bang, like, some bang, not a whole lot, but I didn't hate it, and I did somewhat enjoy it, which was a pleasant surprise. And then the second drop was just some very nice future bass. I think I'm gonna be coming back to this one, not because I think it's great, but because I kind of want to hear those switch ups again, because I thought they were interesting, to say the least. But I don't think it's anything phenomenal, but I did enjoy it.
I think this track really had a lot going for it. I think a lot of the heavier sound design is really cool. It reminds me a lot of more Kismet stuff. And the second melodic drop does a lot of really cool switch ups that I think are pretty fun. But other than that, this track is just overall really repetitive to me. And while it does have these really interesting ideas, it doesn't really imply to develop them at all, except for like the switch ups in the second drop. But yeah, I haven't listened to any of the other singles for Snouse's upcoming album, but if they're anything like this, then it's gonna be a big solid eh.
Mm-hmm. Well, not the most repetitive thing that he's made this year.
Yeah.
Because golden.
This is true.
Oh shit, I forgot Snouts was on that track.
Yeah, so did
Yep.
I. I just always thought of it as a nonsense track, honestly.
Yeah, not huge on the first drop. I think it was kind of messy, kind of dissonant. I think it didn't really work with what it was building up. However, I think the second drop is very good. I think Snots is very good at making this future bassy type, like almost trappy, but almost heavy emotional, I think, type breakdowns that feel very satisfying to listen to. And I've always appreciated Snoz for doing that, but I'm not a huge fan of heavy Snoz, and this really shows on the first track on the first half of the track. And yeah, kind of polarizing to me, but still more inclined to like a 6 or 7. I think it's pretty good.
I also haven't heard any of the other songs on Snouse's upcoming album, I guess. If it's like this one though, it's not something I'm gonna be looking forward to. I think that the first drop is kind of gross. I don't really like some of the sound design, but even if I did, it doesn't really progress anywhere meaningful for me. Like it kind of stays stagnant throughout. And the second drop, it it uh, it doesn't really do anything for me. I just was kind of neutral faced the whole time when I was listening to that. It's like a leaf or something. I don't know. Not really a fan. Can't really see myself. Can't really see this growing on me either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really care for the song that much. I did not like the first drop at all. And I did enjoy how the second drop went to a much nicer future bass style. But overall, like it felt really basic to me. It also had kind of like a weird pacing in like the little outro part that it had. So yeah, I didn't even know Snouse was like making an album. So I guess he is, so I hope they're not like this.
It's all golden.
No, okay, go back.
Snows as an artist, I can sum him up by saying that he either makes songs that I really love or he makes songs that I really despise. And somehow in this track, he managed to do both. The first track is, or the first drop is just an assault on my eardrums. I can I can kind of respect it for being a little different sound design wise. But then when the second drop kicked in and it goes more melodic, I definitely enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of cool switch ups in there. So yeah, very polarizing track for me as well.
All right, moving on to the next one on this list, the new Last Heroes track on Ophelia, Passing Through featuring Trove. I know I said this when the Dumu track dropped, but I still believe Trove is a fantastic vocalist, and I think he does a great job on this song as well. It's not really a huge difference. And while I wasn't crazy about the production when I heard it first time around, when I was re-listening to it in the session, I do think it does a great job of complementing the vocals. I think it fits really well. And while I was expecting, from Last Heroes, some wild melodic dubstep, because that's what they're great at, I didn't get that, but I still enjoyed what I got. And I think that it works, even if it's a whole lot more laid back, kind of taking the back seat as far as the production goes. I think that actually kind of worked out in the end for Last Heroes here.
I don't know. Trove is nice on it. Other than that, it's like a 6 out of 10 synth pop song. Next person.
Where'd Katz go?
Katz is gone.
Dead.
Why?
Wyoming.
I didn't expect you to say that at the same time as me.
It's perfect.
Well, yeah, this track goes straight into the playlist. I can say Last Heroes definitely stands out in Ophelia, and I like Ophelia, because I don't know, that style just kind of clicks with me. I really like the emotional type, melodic bass that they do there, and it feels really satisfying to listen to. This, instead of having a super powerful drop, I think it has a more laid back one, which I can really appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
I think Trove is an excellent vocalist. I know Liz, I remember, isn't really much of a fan, but I know most people tend to compliment Trove because he's Trove and he sings good. But yeah, he just complements the track really well. I think Last Heroes. I definitely haven't followed Last Heroes as much as I should, because I've really enjoyed their discography from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is just a really solid track.
So, my first listen on this track was, getting to those build up. There's those drums, and I'm like, all right, time for like the Last Heroes mel dub drop.
Yeah.
And then we get like a house song, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is like this was a bit unexpected, but it's nice. Going to the second drop, same thing. I'm like, all right, now we're gonna get this this Last Heroes melodic drop. Nope, still house. I think that it's fine for what it is. Nothing too special in my opinion, though. Just I think Trove carries this song, though. I think his vocals are incredible. Otherwise, though, yeah, fairly decent song. If I were to say one thing, it definitely did not meet my expectations.
That's it. That's all.
That's it. That's it.
I like this for the most part. I thought it was cool that he went. I mean, last year I just went in more like a house direction. Trove is good as always here. I enjoyed how those little subtle instruments that were present in the drop, and the song overall kind of gave me like Conro-ish vibes. Like I felt like it kind of like resembled his like house style a bit, but it was nice, albeit just a bit different from what I was expecting.
My main issue with the song is that it uses Trove as a crutch. And I'm not into Trove. I just don't know what it is. But here especially, he sounds more like a sad white boy than usual, which just drives me up the wall. Other than that, I don't know, it's pleasant, I guess. I was just expecting more. I wanted more. I wanted something to lift Trove up because he's not strong enough to support a song on his own in my eyes.
All right. Moving on to the last track of the past week that we want to cover, the new Laszlo track, Stars Align. And now, I know a lot of people pointed this out when we were doing the listening session. Why? Okay.
Oh man.
Oh my god.
Why do I find it so funny? It's such a dumb joke.
Our humor is the greatest.
All right. Katz. Okay. So, like I mentioned, a whole lot of people, when we were doing the listening session, had mentioned this, how it was quite underwhelming for Laszlo standards. And I agree there, but I did still enjoy it. And honestly, even if I act like it didn't have Laszlo's name on it, it's a solid song in its own right. So yeah, Laszlo set the bar super high, and I don't think he reached that bar there, but despite that, I still enjoy the track, and I think I might be coming back to it a little bit as well.
Something I can appreciate Laszlo doing on this specifically is really improving on his sound design. I think, well, especially for his Future House stuff, while he had like his sound design was probably like the weakest part of his stuff. A lot of stuff was more carried by like the melodic aspects for me and whatnot. But while the sound design is better, usually what I love about him, which is the more sort of melodies and just like overall mood of it, is very sort of repetitive, and it feels like it's very much lacking something that really could have made it a lot better.
I said it was underwhelming, and kind of underwhelming for Laszlo's absolutely gigantic standards, but yeah, like if Laszlo doesn't even reach his bar, that doesn't mean the track is bad. Like
Yeah.
This track is very good. I still appreciate what it is, and the more I listen to it, the more I like it. It's slowly but surely growing on me, because I'm starting to appreciate how minimalistic it is and how Laszlo plays on another aspect of his style of music. And yeah, I think it's just good. Like, there's not much else to say about a Laszlo track, but it's just good house.
I would say that this is probably a Future House song.
You know, I might have to agree with you there. I'm not certain, but I have a hunch you might be onto something.
Nah, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Dang.
Sacrilege.
Yeah, this song was pretty disappointing for his standards, but it was still okay. I did appreciate how it was more on the chill side for Laszlo, because he doesn't really go on that side a whole lot. But I think the drops were a bit too empty and could at least use a bit more to make them more enthusiastic.
Yes, Laszlo, my god. Laszlo, the god of airglow.
Yes.
And can we just talk about airglow again?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You weren't
Let's
there
do
for the
that.
initial recording.
We could. Airglow is a 10 out of 10, so go ahead.
Well, I
This
won't
song.
talk about airglow again. I've repeated ad nauseum that Airglow is my favorite song, and Laszlo, I'm not ever gonna expect him to meet the bar that he set with that one song again. His regular bar is already high, and I think he's just doing laps now. He's just flaunting his unlimited power by making a song that's very effective, even though it's very chill, which is something that you don't normally get with his future house. I think Stars Align is probably my favorite of Laszlo's releases this year. I think in some ways the style is, I can kind of compare it to Bad Computer. That was my initial observation. And so, yeah, I think Laszlo did a great job. Obviously, a playlist ad from me.
All right. Now, finally, moving on to the throwbacks here. First one on this throwbacks list, Contra by Pixel Terror featuring Sarah Skinner. This is the Pixel Terror debut on the label. Turned 2 years old on Sunday. Now, I said this in the listening session, but beforehand, I enjoyed this track. It was probably one of the weaker Pixel Terror tracks in my opinion. But when I re-listened just now, something clicked. Like, it really does hit hard, and I think it has exactly the impact that it needed and that it was going for, which I find to be, I think that Pixel Terror's kind of overblown sound design works especially well here, and that last halftime melodic drop, the chords are so filling, which is something that I just love to hear in that kind of music. So yeah, I've always enjoyed this one, but I think now especially I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to be coming back to it a whole lot more after this.
Something I love about this song is just really how uniquely diverse the drops are, with this very sort of initial futuristic complexure drop into this really heavy and noisier one, into the very really cool melodic dubstep third drop.
Mm-hmm.
And all of it's done with Pixel Terror's really, really cool sound design. And other than that, I really like Sarah Skinner on this track, and Pixel Terror is exceptionally good at mixing vocals into their tracks. Just something about what they do works really, really well. And yeah, it's just one of my favorite Monstercat tracks of 2018. It's such a banger.
I thought you were just going to say Pixel Terror is really good at mixing.
No.
I was like, wait, what?
They're good at, that's the weirdest thing, is that they're really good at mixing vocals, but in terms of mixing, they just don't.
Personally, Pixel Terror is probably my favorite Uncaged artist at the moment. I think they're very creative. I think their sound design is crisp, and Contra just proves that. This track fucking bangs, holy shit, it's so good. Probably one of the strongest debuts on the label. Very clean, very crisp sound design. Those drops are fucking banging. Yeah, this is just so good.
There's so many good things to comment on this track. I really like starting out, Sarah Skinner has an amazing vocal performance, and Pixel Terror work her vocals incredibly well into the song, and then we can get to the drops. Each drop, as stated, completely, I would say, unique from each other. They each have their own things about them. Super glitchy, just some really good stuff. They hit hard, absolute banger, just an amazing song.
Yeah, this is a super, super cool track. Definitely one of Pixel Terror's highlights on the label. I love how each drop is pretty different for the most part, but they're still hype as all hell. Damn, this is one track to listen to if you ever need to get energized or something.
Yeah.
Really, really cool debut, especially that because they haven't released before this. Well, wow, that sounds so bad. They hadn't been on the label before this. Really, really good first impression.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really bad first impression.
Bruh.
No.
Let's start it, baby. Fuck you. I've noticed a thing that happens a lot, which is an artist will debut. I won't like it, and then that debut will end up being probably one of their better songs, but I won't be able to shake the negative first impression that I had from it. In retrospect, Contra's probably on the higher end of Pixel Terror, although they've made many much better songs than Contra. But the initial impression that I got from Pixel Terror was they don't know how to mix and they're trying way too hard. And I still kind of feel that way, although I've come to accept that as a fact. But I've not been able to shake the stink off of Contra. Maybe if I could, I would enjoy it, but who am I kidding? Probably not. It's Pixel Terror and not enjoyable.
All right. Moving on to the next track on here. This released the day after Contra. I don't know what timeline we're living in where this next track released the day after Contra. Like, that just doesn't connect in my mind. But the next track on here, turning 2 years old on Monday, is I Love It by Kanye West and Lillian Pumpernickel, our famous duo. And, you know, we talked a little bit on Lil Pump last week. We had some very, very kind words for him. And I guess the main difference for this one, if I have to give my actual thoughts on it, I'll let you guys do the memeing and screwing around for this one, but I can appreciate it for the fact that it's not trying to take itself seriously. You know, obviously they're just joking around with it. So I think
You're such a fucking hoe.
So it's fun in that regard. You know, it just takes one look at the music video to be like, okay, yeah. So yeah, it is kind of funny. It's kind of entertaining, but obviously I don't think I'd come back to it. But it is a nice song to joke around with.
Yeah, I don't know. This track has like such a soft spot in my heart for not. Don't get me wrong. This song is like borderline like easy 1 out of 10 garbage. Lil Pump just does not work at all with the track. The instrumental itself is really boring in one note. Kanye's verses are way too raunchy for my own taste, and just like I just hate really a whole lot about it. But what really sort of sticks out to me is that personally this came out at a time, like a really rough time in my life that I won't really get into, but just listening to this or just watching the music video where Lil Pump and Kanye West are in these giant Roblox costumes, or the clean edit of the song known as the Freaky Girl edit, which is a borderline kids bopified version of the song, or the time that both of them went on Saturday Night Live and performed the song in giant water bottle costumes.
Yeah.
And just, Lil Pump was very clearly too drunk to sing, and Kanye West was slipping up on his lines so often that he dropped like 7 F-bombs on live air. It's just like, even when like nothing could really seem to make me happy, this was just always something for me to laugh at, and I'll appreciate it for that. But as a song, it's like, it's not good.
Yeah.
Wow, you're such a fucking hoe.
No, he's such a freak. She's such a freaky girl.
Yeah, the freaky girl. That edit actually is like hilarious.
I love the freaky girl thing. It was fucking I can't get over the freaky girl edit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna. I'm not even gonna give my thoughts on the track. I'm just gonna meme it. Like, God, I'm just so fucking done. I can't with this track. Like, I legitimately can't with this track. I'm actually fucking done. I quit. Like,
He didn't love it.
I'm a freaky girl. No,
The best part of the freaky girl edit is when Kanye goes, "I'm a sick freak, I like a good freak."
Yeah. Yeah, but there was a point where when it came out, and me and my friends listened to it, ironically, because
Yeah.
But then for some reason my grade started listening to it unironically. The same thing happened to Gucci Gang.
Nice.
And why would you even do that? Like, what's unironically good about this track? Like, I can't name a thing. Honestly, I just can't with Lil Pump, man. Like, Kanye had some great tracks, but Lil Pump just like the man has zero good tracks under his belt. I'd argue. He just no, I don't get it. Like, I'm done. I'm just done. I'm gonna pass it over to Miko here because I just gonna fucking I'll just leave.
Kanye's timeline is actually amazing.
Yeah, it's
how
cursed as fuck.
from 1 year, like 2 years ago, we went from I'm a sick fuck, I like a quick fuck, to making an album praising Jesus and only having people in there that abstained from premarital sex.
Well, then, like,
That is
even
that
even
that
like
is-
before that, he dropped Kids See Ghost, which is like one of the most highly regarded rap albums of the decade.
And
Which
Kids
is
See
just
Ghost
such a
is so
wild
fucking
thing.
good.
yeah, amazing.
I mean, head empty, no thoughts.
Nice.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Void.
Wow, what a fucking hoe.
There are no
Freaky girl.
thoughts. Go
Freaky
home.
girl.
Take off your cloak.
Oh my god.
I said before that I think it's a miracle that Lil Pump ever existed. And I think it is an even bigger miracle that Lil Pump had a second hit. I mean, you have Gucci Gang, which is, the most classic of all hip hop. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then
It's a
he
certified
somehow
hood
manages
classic.
to make something
Oh god.
where people will actually listen to another song that he made. I think it's actually impressive. I will say this: it has actually a killer bass line. The song doesn't deserve that bass. Like, I actually enjoy the bass, but holy fuck, the song's just a meme and how
Yeah.
bad it is.
I am gonna have to agree with you on that. The bass is actually the only good thing about the track
All right.
and the music video.
Yep.
And then 2 years ago on that very same day was Over You by Soup Andreas, turning 4 years old on that same day, Monday. Actually, it feels kind of wild to think that that song's 2 years older than I Love It. That also does not register in my mind. But yeah, this was Soup Andreas' debut on the label. It's obviously a fan favorite, and while I don't think it's fantastic or phenomenal like some other people do, I do quite enjoy it. The sound design is really cool. His vocals are great, and overall, yeah, it was just a great release. And that whole kind of era of Monster Cat from 4 years ago was super solid as well.
Back when I first first discovered Monster Cat, and I only listened to like 64 kilobit rips that I stole from SoundCloud, which I think are now like resting in the recycle bin of like my old MacBook. But like back then when I had like just the low quality rip of it and like low quality earbuds, I really did not see the hype of this track. I thought it was just really boring and sort of one note. But once I actually got like Monster Cat Gold and got a decent copy legally and got good headphones, it really started to click for me, because a lot of what makes this track really, really cool and interesting is a lot of the details that happen in a lot of the lower frequencies, which, yeah, it's just like it complements, or that like low frequency also complements the much more like plunky synth lead a lot more than just the lead by itself. The intro, especially, I think, is just a really cool, like, just flex of sound design. And yeah, Soup Andreas' vocals are really nice on the track as well.
Yeah, Soup is very good. Widely regarded as one of the best artists on the label, I'd argue. And in my opinion, yeah, this track just holds up. Like, it is very good. However, I don't think it's Soup's best. I think it's his best would be like Tumbling Down or Melatonin, but this is still really good. His vocals are crazy good. They fit the aesthetic of the track like insanely well. I think the dreamy like instrumental and the like kind of like interesting bass and intricate sound design that it has is very unheard of for that kind of music in particular, but I think it works so well in its favor that it makes for such a unique listen that you have to like um even if you don't like it, you kind of have to admit that it's very creative. And Soup definitely brought an interesting and new style of like future bass to the label with his debut.
So I gotta say, Soup is probably either my third or fourth favorite artist on the label, and this song is definitely one of the reasons why I love his style so much. To start out, you have the intro that has his absolutely beautiful vocal performance. Just absolutely killer. Just amazing stuff. And then you get to the drop, and a lot of it's kind of in the low end, but that's something that I really like, if you know me. I like songs that kind of have like two different dichotomies. If you know, like Dichotomy Soft Mix is my favorite song on the label. Particularly like this, like when you have like one of these sections that's like super bassy, and like in this song, like you have like that bass and you have like that kind of like tumbling noise, and then you kind of have like that plucky sort of thing that goes on after that. Like, it's such a good dichotomy. It works so well together, and it's just so clean. Everything about this song works together so perfectly. Fun listen. Just, it's probably top 20 on the label. I absolutely adore this song.
I feel a bit bad because everyone's describing how great this is, and for me, I just never really got into it that much. It's a good song, but I just never really like vibed with it that hard. I do really, really enjoy his vocals though. They're stellar in this performance here, and I do like the sounds used in the drop. They're really creative and used in an interesting way. But yeah, I just never really bonded with it that much compared to everyone else here.
I entered my period of knowledge of Monster Cat right around when Over You was released. So it was one of the first new tracks that I listened to. But I'm gonna be honest, I didn't form that big of a connection with it on my first listen. On time, it's grown on me. I think a lot of the bass and the sounds used in the drop are very interesting. But I still don't think it's Soup's best. He's a very interesting artist to me, but Over You doesn't strike me as overly interesting, especially compared to the rest of his discography.
All right, moving on to Wednesday's throwbacks. First one turning 6 years old, Kaleidoscope by Casbo. Now, yeah, if that wasn't a blatant giveaway, this song it's so nice. It's so lush. The vocal chops I think are implemented very well. I mentioned this in the listening session, but the first part kind of reminded me of Idol, where it's it's very laid back, borderline like elevator kind of music, and it's not too intrusive, but it's just very very nice and pleasant. And then once we get into the drops in here, which you don't find that kind of stuff in Idol, but in this song the drops are very very nice, very clean, and it's able to do beautiful things without any of it seeming too forced. Like, it all seems so natural, and it all transitions very well. And I think that that's a great thing about it. It feels like everything that is in the track has its own spot in there and doesn't feel out of place.
I feel like by means this is definitely not Casbo's best. He's topped this many, many times, but that's just really a symptom of this being really one of his first songs, period. But like other than like the sound design and his production chops weren't exactly like on point, this is still like a really serene and beautiful little future bass track. The songwriting's on point even from Casbo's beginnings. And yeah, it's just such a it's probably one of the early like I really don't like early Monster Cats, so this would be like one of the first tracks going chronologically that I could say that I really, really enjoy. But yeah, it's just like I really like this track. It's really calm, really sort of relaxing yet emotionally like packing a punch to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was muted.
Why?
Why, yo, man?
There it is.
I hate myself for finding it so funny.
If you checked recently the pinned messages on my channel, you'd see that I updated a very particular list at one point recently. Where do I even begin with this track? I absolutely fucking adore this track. Like, I couldn't even tell you. This is easily one of my favorite tracks ever. Like, easily one of my favorite tracks on the label. One of the few 10 out of 10s on the label, actually. I just love how calming it is. It's such a downbeat and chill track. I love how it progresses like impeccably. I love it so much. The vocal chops are very well done. Very, very well done. I love how they fit to the rest of the track. They don't disrupt anything. I feel this is definitely really calming. I've listened to this a ton. While I haven't listened to it much recently, after this I'm definitely gonna listen to it more, but it's just an absolute classic, one of my all-time favorite tracks, and yeah, I just absolutely love it.
This song hits. There's so many good things to talk about. Like just so many good things about this song. Like in Over You. Although I don't like it as much as Over You, I would even say that this is probably still top 100 on the label. You start out the song with like this quiet kind of atmosphere. You go to these like vocal chops. The vocal chops are so pleasant as well in this song, but the drop is just so it's so different for like 2014 future bass, because you kind of hear a lot of the future bass around this time. It's really upbeat and it's really like energetic, kind of in your face.
Mm-hmm.
This is almost like somber and like almost unhappy, but it's like it's so beautiful because it does that. It hits like a truck. It's such a great listen every single time I listen to it. Just an amazing song.
Yeah, this song is just so well executed. Like, it takes you on an entire journey. Like, it's so engaging and very, very emotional throughout the entire piece. Like, it has a very down tempo off drop, and it has a very climatic drop as well. It gives me chills every time I listen to it. Like, it's just such a phenomenal piece of music here.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just say, Monster Cat's early future bass is piss poor. God, it sucks on the whole. But thank God for Casbo, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God he went that direction.
He pulled the 180 on you.
Yeah, I had to do it to him. God, I love Kaleidoscope. Now, again was the first Casbo track that I heard, but Kaleidoscope is so strong that it forced its way past the nostalgia of Again to become my favorite of Casbo's releases on Monster Cat. I think he has certainly proved himself to be one of the most versatile future-based artists. But I think even in his beginnings, he was strong. Kaleidoscope is just all of the best things about early future-based when it was a more developing genre.
Mm-hmm.
I love the vocal chops. I love that intro. It's so like peaceful, and the entire atmosphere of the track is unbelievable. It's unmatched by any early future-based track on Monster Cat that I can think of. And yeah, absolutely one of my favorites down to this day.
Friday, turning 2 years old, is the Welcome to London EP, Cloud9's debut EP. And now,
Oh boy.
Katz is pretty crazy about Cloud9, and you guys know that I really enjoy Cloud9 too, but I'm not at the same level as Katz. I don't have like every single one of his tracks added or anything. But if you had only seen my thoughts on this EP and nothing else, then you probably would have thought that that was the case. Because this EP, I think, is by far his best body of work, like his best EP. I gave 2 of the tracks here a 9, and then one of the tracks, Spring Snow, I gave it a 10, and it's one of my only 5 10s that I've given to tracks on the label. And, you know, I could go through all of the tracks here, but you already know that I'm a huge fan of the majority of them. So I guess I'll just point out 2 in particular. First one, Clapham Reign. I know we mentioned this in the listening session, but I find it to be really, really underrated. I think this is by far his best interlude. The melody is so beautiful, and it's executed in a way that really, really works. Because like with some of his other interludes, like Loner, for instance, it had a very, very nice melody, but it didn't go anywhere. And then this didn't really do much more than Loner did, but the way that it managed to make it feel satisfying without it doing anything too crazy is really remarkable, if you ask me, because it has the melody and then it brings in drums, and it, instead of having it be like Loner where you don't feel satisfied because you wanted it to go somewhere, this makes it kind of feel like, no, this doesn't really need to go anywhere. It's satisfying as it is. And then the other track that I want to point out here, the 10 that I gave, Spring Snow, the chord progression just gives me chills. It's such a beautiful track. And, Cloud9 doesn't really need to do a whole lot on here because the melody he has there, the way he implements it, is beautiful on its own. But the vocal chops are very, very nice, very well done, and the drums and the bass just only add to the track. So, it's a phenomenal EP, and like I mentioned, definitely my favorite that Cloud9 has put out so far.
Yeah, I'd also agree that this is probably my favorite Cloud9 EP. I think, quite personally, this, like, the cover art basically represents what I feel when listening to this EP. Like, it greatly represents sort of like a rainy sunset in the middle of like a urban environment, and representing all of like the dark alleyways and what lies within it. But to ask why this in particular brings that emotion out, other than the rest of Cloud9's other stuff, I really couldn't tell you why. It could be that there's a lot more high end than usual, or there's more reverb, or a ton of other things. But this just captures such a strong emotion to me that none of his other stuff really has held on to. And also, I just really like some of the just production choices, like the violet, or I don't think it's violin specifically, but the string instruments at the end of Nun Trick Pony, or the very burial-esque percussion in Welcome to London, or the very crunchy yet muted, also the percussion in Spring Snow, as well as all the really neat vocal chops. Yeah, it's just overall a really, really good garage EP.
It's time.
It's time.
Well, I finally get the chance to speak about my favorite artist, period. And this is just, where do I even begin? Like, how am I even gonna express this without taking, like, an hour of your guys' time? Like, come on. And I'm gonna start off with the fun fact I mentioned, because I used to dislike Cloud9. which was probably kind of a surprise to you guys because probably the biggest Cloud9 fan in the server, at least that I know of.
Yeah.
And I actually used to really dislike Nun Trick Pony. However, after listening to Cloud9 for a bit, I really grew to appreciate him a lot. And by that I mean a lot, after the Lost and Found EP came out. Because I really started getting into his style. And I'd argue Welcome to London is not really that easily accessible to newer Monster Cat fans that are not really into that chill out scene. Because at that time, I was more of a big fan of House.
Yeah.
Like, I was just coming out of my House phase, listening to more dubstep and future bass. But just something about Cloud9's style, man. I just can't get over Cloud9. Like, this EP in particular is just fucking crazy. Like, the chord progressions are impeccable. I think the sound design, while not crazy good, I think it's just fulfilling to listen to and fits incredibly well with every single one of the tracks. Well, Bad Boy was a bit of a sleeper for me. It did click with me. It is very unique. It is very creative for what it is, and it is a standout in Cloud9's discography. As some people say, he makes the same track over and over again. While I do see the point, if he makes a 10 out of 10 over and over again, I'm fine with it. So, yeah, Spring Snow is one of my 10 out of 10s on the label, one of my favorite tracks of all time. I might argue top 20 of all time. I think Spring Snow is his magnum opus, so I'm going to focus more on this track in particular. However, I do think Nun Trick Pony and Clapham Reign are very good standouts on the EP. Welcome to London is very cool too. Nun Trick Pony has some amazing instrumentation. Clapham Reign is very underrated. And Spring Snow is just perfect. Like, I'm just not... I just don't know. It progresses so nicely. The vocal chops are amazing. It's such a laid back and chill track. And this is funnily enough, maybe, I don't know, probably my least heard Cloud9 EP, because I have like 200 plus plays on Wish, and similarly in Lights Out. Yeah.
And this one was the first one to come out too.
Yeah.
Like Lights Out is like 2 months old, and he just has it on loop.
Well, I do have like 180 something plays on Recollection Perspective, so
Bro.
And it came out last month. So yeah, but something about Cloud9's style, man, I'm not some might argue it's because sad boy things and stuff like that, but I just don't see myself as that. I just love Cloud9's style. It's so minimalistic, yet it's so efficient at what it tries to achieve. And somehow I just don't feel like it's a sad album or a downbeat album. I just feel like it's not background music. I just feel like it's very mood depending. Like Cloud9, I could listen to Cloud9 when it's raining, chilling in my garden, chilling in my backyard, chilling with friends. I could listen to Cloud9 everywhere. Like, this album is fucking perfection. Okay, moving on.
Thank you, Katz.
I really do like this EP. There's a lot of really good tracks on there. And although I think Spring Snow is my favorite on here, I want to focus on 2 other tracks. Actually the first 2 on here. First one being Welcome to London. I've been getting into Garage a lot recently. Something about it, just really just catches my ear, really makes me interested, and Welcome to London is definitely one of the tracks that does that. Specifically, just like your standard garage beat, like in this song, I really like that kind of like empty percussion that's going on. I find that to be really cool. A lot of the instrumentation on here is also really good. just a really nice and serene listen. Definitely. And the other track, Nun Trick Pony. I really didn't like this track when it came out. I was really underwhelmed when this was the first track to come out, but I've really come around to it. I really like how this song progresses. I like and I've kind of grown on the vocal chop, even if I still think it's not particularly the best. I think that it gets the job done. It allows for the first drop to progress pretty well, and I get this song's melody, specifically in the second drop, stuck in my head a lot. It's just those two songs are really good, but obviously this whole EP is just incredible. It's a great listen all the way through. I basically like every song on here.
Yeah, this EP is just really, really great overall. It has some really, really beautiful gems hidden in here. Or I guess not really hidden, but just laid in here. My standout track has got to be Spring Snow by a Milestone. I don't even think I used that expression right. But this song is just, it's so nice. It has such like a low energy to it, but still like comes in like great waves of like just like vibes to you. It's definitely my favorite track from Cloud9. Very, very stellar stuff here. I also have to give a little shout out to the title track itself, Welcome to London. I think it's a really nice setup for the EP as a whole. And the heavy bass line that's present throughout the majority of the song adds to the atmosphere really nicely. And while it is repetitive, like most of Cloud9's works, here in this EP, most of the time it just adds on to the song rather than just being like grating and annoying, which I find is a really cool thing to have, because it's really hard to execute in like basic chill songs like this most of the time, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, really great stuff from him.
I really enjoy the EP, although I will say I think it's one of the weaker ones in his discography. I think it was probably a poorer way to introduce Cloud9. Even though it retains his signature style, I think he evolved and he got better largely. But that's not to say that the EP is not without its gems. Spring Snow, obviously, but I don't need to spend time talking about that. Welcome to London, the title track, is really fantastic at creating this sort of atmosphere, sort of industrial city setting, and it's a great soundscape. And Bad Boy, I think, doesn't get enough love. I think the bass work, although it's repetitive, is still stellar. Cloud9 didn't wow me on the first time that I heard him, especially with Nun Trick Pony, a Cloud9 track that I think after Lost and Found and Juliet may be my least favorite from him. But when all's said and done, the entire EP is really good. It's grown on me with time, and yeah, I really like Cloud9.
All right.
Actually wanted to add.
Yeah.
I love how Cloud9 has developed into this artist that can basically shift between different shades of garage and different like shades of house now, even that are just so emotionally packed and so beautiful in like instrumentation and progression that it's just mind-boggling to me. Like I just can't get the garage boring argument to this day, because you just really gotta digest what's going on in a track. I get if you're not that into that style, that's more like respectable, but if you're just gonna say this artist make the same track over and over, then you're clearly just skimming through the track, because there's a big difference between like Out There and I don't know, Little or something.
Yeah. You know, we had to end this behemoth episode with a bang, with Touch Me by Candyland and Ricci, the Boom Man himself. And I feel like
don't mind if I do.
this is the you're going to jail, Liz. I think I feel
That's
like
what the police sirens were for earlier.
yeah.
It was Minority Report.
I was gonna say that I feel like this is like the underappreciated older brother of Boom, because Boom gets all the attention because it has the wacky music video, but it just takes one look at the lyric video. I mean, not at the lyric video, but like at the lyrics of this, to see that this definitely has that same energy going for it too. Now, if I had to give my unironic thoughts on the track, I actually think there's some cool parts in it. Like there's this part in like the mid section where the bass kind of gets plucky and has like a little melody going on, which is really neat. And you know, the drops are pretty nice, but I gotta say I get more enjoyment out of this, ironically, of like how much of a wacky track it is than I do unironically, even if some of the serious enjoyment is still there. Also, I forgot to mention it's turning 4 years old on that same day.
Yeah, this track sucks. For a while back when my experience in Monster Cat was like 020 onward, this was, I believe, my least favorite track on the label. It's definitely nowhere near the bottom, but I still think it sucks ass currently. For the most part, it's very much similar to that Abstract and Martin Horder track, where it goes for this really sort of bassy, like really focusing on the low end and the bass, but it really doesn't do anything interesting in that end. And there's no like melodic parts, so there's really no point to the song other than like dancey bass, I guess.
Telling you to touch me. That's the entire objective of the song.
And then also the lyrics have made me like viscerally uncomfortable since day one of listening to this song. Like it's just like, I don't know. Like going back, I re-listened to both this and Boom a while ago, and while I think Boom is kind of like overhated. I think there's some cool, like, albeit cheesy, like some cool spooky aspects to it, but this just has like absolutely nothing good going for it.
You know how I said I like house?
Do you like this?
Absolutely fucking not. This is an absolute mess, and I hate this so much. I hate this kind of house. It's so empty, so boring. I see the appeal, but me personally, I just can't vibe with this type of house. It's just, and the lyrics, yeah, they're awkward. They're not fucking Soul G Stress bad, but
Obsession by Neilio, bruh.
Fucking what's the name? Karma Field Scandal.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, no, I just can't vibe with this style, and it's not even that interesting in my opinion. Like it could do some stuff, but it does not do stuff, so it is not good.
No stuff has been done here today, sir. I'm sorry to report.
Stuff.
Flushed.
Oh my god, this is a song. It is music, and it comes through my headphones,
I thought you were just
to my ears, to my brain.
Same.
It is definitely a track. I can agree.
I need like, this song needs to stay 15 feet from my ears at all times. It is painfully empty. The vocal sample is terrible. There's not much I can really compliment this song on, and there's so little about it that there's not much I could say about why I dislike it. There's not much there, and the stuff that's there isn't that good. It's not egregiously bad where I'm like ripping my headphones off my head, but like I'll do without this song.
Yeah, I forgot to mention this when I was giving my thoughts, but I mentioned this in the listening session. But some of the sections in this track have hard pickle vibes, which is always a certain kind of sign.
Oh yeah, baby!
What was
a nice
that?
pepperoni pizza.
Yeah, this song, it's here. It's not bad overall, but it just doesn't really do anything for me, or in the track itself, because it's just pretty bland. That's all I really got.
Why?
And it is
I love how you're still on this one joke.
Yeah. I'm so fucking done. Holy
It is funny.
It was
Funny. It is funny, Wyoming.
It's time for me to fuck up the consistency of the opinions here. I unironically enjoy Touch Me. Sue me, bitch. Oh my God. I enjoy it. I can't really say why. It's just very bouncy. I think Candyland has gotten pitifully low amounts of love for the two singles that she released. I like Faces and I like Touch Me, unironically. I think it has a great energy, and the energy overall complements what wouldn't even be vocals that are that good. It's just like a perfect storm of stupidity that I can't not appreciate. I enjoy it so much. I've always enjoyed it since it released when I was just a baby, Monster Cat fan wise. But I'm still thankful that it exists. So yeah, good job, Candyland.
Nice. The last opinion you will hear in this episode is that Liz likes Touch Me.
Eat the rich, as always.
I will be sure to. I eat one rich per episode.
I'm currently eating.
You're currently eating a rich
pizza.
I ate a Richard yesterday. Does that count?
I have a 10-hour shift tomorrow, starting at 7:30. So, fire.
All right. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this another gargantuan episode of the Castalog. We hope to see you guys next week. And yeah, see ya.